This is Dave Putz from JKP Holdings. Recently, we posted a question as we were getting a lot of newbies asking what state to invest in and what to look at. So we wanted to post and get some more experienced investors, or those who've been in the space for a little while, in the note space, to share their first state and why they chose that state. We found out the same answers that they chose, we realized we chose as well. A lot of the answers were, don't know. Deal was good. What was available? So we look back, and I wanted to share what our first experience was. It was back in 2012. I was leaving the fund. My experience was limited to evaluating properties and kind of giving the fund what the value of the property was, what the dynamics around the area was, talking to agents and whatnot. So when we went to bid on a property, it was our first time doing that. We used what we could. However, we didn't really know exactly all the expenses going into it. What we did do is we bid on an asset in Ohio. What we turned out is the seller would not let us buy only that asset. We had to buy that asset and one other one for limitedly $500. We figured for $500, what can go wrong? What we decided to do was to take the $500 one, try to get a hold of the borrower, see if we can get deed in lieu and see what's going on with the property itself. We knew the property was in a bad condition. So what we did was we did get a hold of the borrower who didn't realize they had the lien house. It was an older couple. And we found out there was a second on the actual asset. We reached out to the second lien holder, Green Tree, and this shared that we would like to buy their asset, their lien out, and that the borrower isn't really interested in the property, and the property is in really bad shape. The UPB on the second was around $20,000. We said, okay, fine, we'll settle it for a couple $100. I mean, non-performing first, non-performing second, with a really bad value property, around $10,000, $15,000 because of the condition of the property. Well, we ended up, Green Tree said it wasn't their lien. We couldn't understand what they mean. 3 weeks later, we found out it was, or they found out there was. So they came back to us and says, you know what, we did find it. It is ours. We'd like it for a full UPB. And we said, do you understand that we're the first lien? We're not getting paid. You're not getting paid. Value the property. They're too big. They didn't care. So in turn, went back to the borrower and said, listen, we're not going to do the deed in lieu because the second lien's still there. We can't wipe them out. We're going to release our lien. For $125, our lien was released. The other $5,500 purchase part was in Cincinnati area. That property, we had a value between 35 and 40, maybe a little bit higher. So what we did is we bought it for $5,500. Now, we bought that asset because we feared the upside of the value was really awesome. We bought $5,500. We'll make 35 grand on it and be good. Even if there's some more repairs, not a big deal. What we did is we bought that based on that alone and the percentage of UPB. Back then, stair steps made a lot of sense. Today, no. So what I did was I went ahead, started foreclosure, did door knocks, the whole works. Our estimated time for foreclosure was off. We figured 12, 13 months. It ended up taking around 16 months. And the deed was also an issue, which Ohio is very common for. It took a long period of time to actually get the deed transferred to our name. Well, we took the property back. Come to find out, the property was in really bad shape. Internally, structure was okay. The property needed a new bathroom, new kitchen, and everything else. So we did a little bit of cleanup and sold as is. We did make money. However, there was the problems. So why we buy this first two? The price was good. It was how much we really kind of scrounged up at the time. And we figured the upside value was great. In Ohio, there was a ton of inventory. So we picked that Ohio for those reasons. We wanted Texas because it's a short timeline. but the pricing with the sellers just didn't make sense to us. We had a better value buying from there. So we always bought based on value of the purchase, not much else. So today, fast forward, we buy based on our model. We focus on what our return is and back the bid price into it. As I've said before, we want to set our value of what we want our return to be estimated and say, okay, what would our bid have to be to equal this number? So our calculations figure that out for us. We want a X amount percent return. In this scenario, boom. And our bid price is automatically. So if we change our return, the bid price changes automatically. So our second deal, just to share that with you, we end up buying another property in Ohio. Again, ton of Ohio properties. In turn, we went ahead and door knocked, got a hold of the tenant who said they hadn't spoken to the owner in a while. We bought that one for around $12,500 with a value of, we thought 60 plus. The seller thought it was around 50. So we figured that we were a lot of times back then, we were looking for the seller to be low on a value, and we aimed for a opportunity to gain equity, immediate equity, based on what the seller thought it was worth. So we bought it for $12,500, probably worth 60 plus. It was a condo out in Ohio, outside Columbus. We then door knocked it, got hold of tenants. They told us who the landlord was. They haven't spoken to her in a while. We door knocked her. We in turn then were ecstatic. Then we found out that the door knocker who knocked our door contacted the police out of concern for the person living in the home. We shook our heads and said, what's going on here? The police got her to open a door. She was fine. We're figuring we're blown out of the water. Well, it turned out she was okay with it. She reinstated. However, the nugget we did know prior to purchase, again, we bid it based on value and UPB, kind of guesstimate, and the price was good. We figured out that there was a HOA who started foreclosure, but we weren't really worried because they couldn't jump us. We're first position. Well, we discovered in January 2013 or so that the HOA was never named on the foreclosure. Or sorry, the HOA foreclosure, our first lien wasn't named on that. So oddly enough, we had to get back into the foreclosure in a matter of 3 weeks because the paperwork we got said that the foreclosure was taking place sometime, I think, mid-January. And when we looked at it, our attorney said, we're not on there. Our claim isn't there. So we're kind of out. So our hope and concern was, let's jump in there as second position. We'll have to pay off that first HOA and clear them out. We can't wipe them out, which we were successfully able to do. What we didn't do on that deal, though, on the first deal, on the $5,500 deal, was we did not factor in taxes of delinquency and during foreclosure. So we had about $10,000 of taxes that was still owed when we bought it. This one, we did figure all that in. We also took the property back. There was a tenant. We started collecting $700 a month from them while we were waiting for the deed to transfer hands and for the lease to expire. We did sell that one for around $68,000. So we made some great money on there. So why did we pick those states? Primarily, it was based on the property. There was a ton of Ohio then. The pricing in Ohio was really, really good because the timeline was a little bit longer than it's an average, I guess, timeline, but it's much longer than Michigan and Georgia and Texas and Tennessee and all those states like that, Missouri and whatnot. So we bought it because of that. So I hope that helps. Today, we're not picking on the state. Everything goes based on our model, and if we bid based on our returns, based on timelines and things like that, so that we know the expenses going in and what our expected return is based on all our factors and all our numbers, what to bid on. So state doesn't matter because our model factors in the state process, timeline, costs into that. So for you guys new, I wouldn't pick on a state because that state doesn't have well-priced assets, or sellers are not willing to sell for great asset in Idaho, focusing it is difficult. However, if you are local to that property, that's a huge advantage if you can use it as an advantage, meaning you know the value is higher. You know you can do local rehab work if you need to. You know you can contact the borrower if you need to. You know you can work with the borrower through a deed in lieu and sign the paperwork and expedite that process. That's a bonus. However, you have to make sure that's calculated into it, and you're not buying something way above value unless you're buying based on emotion, and that's in your backyard, which is understandable. So that's what we've done. When we left the fund in 2012 and we started buying personally, those are the reasons we bought. I hope that helps.